Life doesn't reward those who stand still. If you're not changing, you're being overtaken. The world belongs to those who know how to adapt, learn, and constantly evolve. But the big question is, how do you really change? How do you reinvent yourself without losing your essence? Robert Greene, one of the greatest scholars of power and strategy, has spent years analyzing the mechanisms of personal transformation and ascension in life. His teachings reveal how successful people think and act to achieve autonomy, power, and influence. He himself said, "The person who cannot master himself will always be a slave." And that's exactly what happens when we don't control our emotions, habits, and choices. We become hostages to circumstances, other people's opinions, and the standards that have been imposed on us. But there is a path to real change, and in this video, we're going to explore 5 essential concepts from Robert Greene that can radically change the way you think and act. Concepts applied by great leaders, artists, and visionaries throughout history. And stay until the end, because the last concept could be the turning point you need to transform your life. Nature teaches us a brutal lesson. It's not the strongest that survives, but the one that adapts best. In the modern world, this rule is even crueler. People stuck in old habits and rigid beliefs are swallowed up by the speed of change. Those who don't learn to reinvent themselves become outdated, whether at work, in relationships, or in their own identity. Robert Greene warns of this danger and shows that adaptation is not weakness, but strategic intelligence. He teaches that those who know how to adjust to circumstances have an immense advantage over those who insist on fighting the tide. A classic example of this is Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution. Studying nature, he realized that the species that thrive are not necessarily the strongest or most intelligent, but those that develop mechanisms to adjust to the environment. The same applies to us. A professional who refuses to learn new skills is doomed to failure. An entrepreneur who ignores market changes will see his business disappear. Think of Steve Jobs. He was ousted from Apple, the company he founded, and could have let himself be consumed by failure. But instead he adapted, created Pixar, and refined his skills until his own company invited him back, this time to completely revolutionize the technology industry. But what about everyday life? How can we apply this principle? A simple example: imagine a professional who loses his job. There are 2 ways to go: to complain and resist change, or to see the situation as an opportunity to learn something new, look for another career, or become an entrepreneur. Those who choose the second option are practicing the art of adaptation. Robert Greene teaches that we should observe the environment, identify patterns, and modify our approach as necessary. This doesn't mean being false or unprincipled, but rather being strategically flexible like water, which shapes its path according to the terrain without losing its essence. The problem is that many people are afraid of change. The human brain tends to resist the new because our survival instinct makes us seek security. But as Greene emphasizes, true security lies in the ability to reinvent oneself. The key is not to fight change, but to learn to use it to your advantage. We live in the age of instant gratification. We want immediate results, quick changes, and lightning successes. But this is a great illusion. Every true transformation requires time, strategy, and patience. Robert Greene teaches that those who know how to wait for the right moment to act have a huge advantage over those who rush into things and make impulsive decisions. He himself said, "The key to patience is to see every setback as a stepping stone to something greater." This means that instead of being discouraged by difficulties, we must see them as part of the process. The great strategists of history didn't build empires overnight. They knew how to wait, prepare the ground, and act with precision at the right time. An example of this is Leonardo da Vinci, one of history's greatest geniuses. It took him 4 years to paint the Mona Lisa, and he kept notebooks full of ideas and inventions that were only understood centuries later. Da Vinci understood that perfection takes time and that patience was essential to create something great. But this principle doesn't just apply to geniuses and historical leaders. Think of an investor who wants to get rich. If they act impulsively and fearfully, buying and selling shares without a strategy, they end up losing money. Those who study the market, make intelligent choices, and have the patience to wait for the right moment reap the rewards of their discipline. Another modern example is J.K. Rowling, author of Harry Potter. Before achieving success, she endured years of rejection and financial difficulties. Many would have given up along the way, but she had strategic patience. She kept improving her writing and believing in the project until she finally found the right opportunity. Robert Greene teaches that we should see life as chess, not as a game of chance. Those who advance without a strategy end up being disposable pawns. Those who know how to plan, observe, and wait for the right moment to act become masters of the game. But how can we apply this in our daily lives? The first lesson is to stop looking for shortcuts. Real transformations, whether in your body, career, or personal development, take time. The second is to learn to endure the initial frustration and understand that the first results are small, but they are part of the process. The third is to study the patterns. Those who observe trends and opportunities with patience know exactly when to take the next step. The great pitfall of impatience is that it makes us make bad decisions. A desperate professional accepts any job offer and then regrets it. Someone afraid of loneliness gets into a toxic relationship. An anxious businessman makes the wrong investments. Those who master strategic patience, on the other hand, build a solid and lasting future. The human mind is a battlefield. Every day we are bombarded by emotions that push us towards impulsive reactions, hasty decisions, and late regrets. Those who don't control their emotions end up being controlled by them. Robert Greene teaches that true power lies not in strength, but in the ability to remain calm in the midst of chaos. He himself said, "The most dangerous enemy you will ever face is always your own mind." And that is an unquestionable truth. History is full of examples of talented people who lost everything because they couldn't control their anger, fear, or pride. On the other hand, those who learned to master their emotions went on to achieve extraordinary feats. A great example of this was Abraham Lincoln. He faced a civil war, political betrayals, and countless personal crises, but he never made impulsive decisions based on anger or despair. He used to write aggressive letters when he was angry, but he never sent them. He preferred to wait, cool off, and act strategically. This self-control made him one of the greatest leaders in history. But the opposite is also true. Think of Mike Tyson, one of the greatest boxers of all time. At the height of his career, he didn't know how to control his impulses and ended up losing everything: money, reputation, and opportunities. His lack of emotional control meant that he wasted a gigantic talent. But how does this apply to our lives? Imagine someone who loses their job. Uncontrolled emotions can lead them to feel like failures, act out of desperation, and accept any bad offer. Someone who has mastered their emotions, on the other hand, uses the moment to reflect, draw up a plan, and act strategically. Another common example is in relationships. How many times have words said in the heat of the moment destroyed friendships, marriages, and partnerships? The person who learns to pause before reacting, to analyze the situation before exploding, gains a huge advantage over those who live at the mercy of their own feelings. Robert Greene teaches that in order to master your emotions, you need 3 essential skills: self-awareness, observing your own feelings before reacting impulsively; self-control, not letting anger, fear, or anxiety make decisions for you; strategic empathy, understanding other people's emotions and using them to your advantage. The good news is that emotional control can be trained. Taking a deep breath before responding to a provocation, analyzing emotional patterns before acting, and turning frustrations into learning are habits that strengthen your emotional intelligence. Those who master their emotions become unshakable. They are people who don't let themselves be affected by destructive criticism, who don't make rash decisions, and who know how to remain calm even under pressure. And in the game of life, strategic coolness is worth more than any raw talent. The world does not belong to the most intelligent or talented, but to those who know how to influence. You can have brilliant ideas, but if you don't know how to communicate and persuade, you'll never emerge from anonymity. Robert Greene teaches that influence is one of the most powerful tools for success, and that mastering it means having control over your own life and the direction you want to take. He himself said, "Power is rarely granted. It has to be won subtly, with strategy and persuasion." This means that influence does not come from brute force or the imposition of will, but from the ability to lead people, arouse admiration, and create genuine connections. History is full of examples of people who used the game of influence to achieve great things. Napoleon Bonaparte, for example, was not only a military genius, he was also a master of persuasion. Before battles, he spoke directly to his soldiers, looked them in the eye, remembered their names, and gave speeches that set their souls on fire. His ability to create an emotional bond with his troops was so strong that his soldiers were willing to follow him to hell. But influence isn't just for generals and politicians. Consider the case of Oprah Winfrey. She didn't become one of the most respected media figures just because of her talent, but because she knew how to build an authentic connection with her audience. She understood that people don't just follow those who have knowledge, but those who arouse trust, empathy, and inspiration. Now, how can we apply this in our daily lives? Suppose you're a professional looking to grow in your career. You may be technically excellent, but if you don't know how to sell your ideas, create good connections, and communicate assertively, you're unlikely to be promoted. The same goes for any field. Entrepreneurs, artists, teachers, they all need influence to thrive. Robert Greene teaches 3 fundamental strategies for developing the art of influence. Control your image. People judge you by the way you present yourself. Your posture, tone of voice, and confidence in speaking determine the impact you have on others. Understand what others want. Persuasion is not about imposing your will, but about aligning your interests with the desires of others. Those who know what others want have power over them. Talk less, listen more. The best influencers are those who know how to listen. By showing genuine interest in others, you gain respect and authority. Influence is also present in relationships. People who know how to express themselves well, who have presence and who inspire confidence, are naturally more attractive, whether in friendships, romances, or even in the professional environment. However, many fall into the trap of thinking that influence is manipulation. The difference between a manipulator and a true leader lies in the intention. While the manipulator seeks personal advantage at any cost, the genuine influencer knows that their power comes from trust and credibility. Those who master the game of influence don't need to demand anything. People naturally follow them because they feel they are in front of someone who knows where they are going. The worst prison there is the one we create for ourselves. If you define yourself by a single label, by a single fixed identity, you are limiting your own potential. The world belongs to those who know how to reinvent themselves, change strategy, and constantly evolve. Robert Greene teaches that adaptation is not just a question of survival, but of power. He says, if you want to have power, never get stuck in a fixed identity. Adapt, change, and always surprise. And this is a truth that we can see in the trajectory of history's great masters. David Bowie, one of the greatest artists of all time, never limited himself to a single style. He created characters, reinvented his music, explored new art forms, and remained relevant for decades. The same happened with Elon Musk, who started out in the financial sector with PayPal, then transformed the car industry with Tesla, and is now shaping the future of space exploration with SpaceX. These examples show that those who dare to change are the ones who achieve extraordinary feats. But reinvention is not just for geniuses or billionaires. It is essential for anyone who wants to grow. The problem is that most people are afraid of change. They prefer to stay in their comfort zone, even if it means living a mediocre life. But the truth is that reinvention is not a one-off event. It needs to be an ongoing process. Robert Greene teaches that there are 3 fundamental steps to mastering the art of reinvention. First, embrace the discomfort of change. Transformation always comes with fear, uncertainty, and resistance. Our brains have been programmed to seek security, so every time we try to break out of our routine, we feel immediate discomfort. But the difference between those who grow and those who fall behind is the ability to withstand the initial discomfort of change. Imagine a professional who has spent 20 years in the same job, but realizes that he is unhappy. They know they need to change, but are afraid of the unknown. Many give up before they even try, simply because they don't want to face this initial phase of uncertainty. But those who accept the discomfort as part of the process manage to take the first step and open doors to new opportunities. Second, never stop learning. Stagnation begins when we believe we already know enough. Those who constantly reinvent themselves are the ones who keep an open mind, seek knowledge, and explore new areas. Think of a musician who only plays one style of music all his life. Over time, their work becomes predictable, repetitive, and lacking in innovation. But those who study new genres, experiment with different techniques, and are always learning, manage to keep their art alive and evolving. This goes for any area of life. A professional who keeps studying new skills will never become obsolete. Third, be unpredictable. The most influential people in the world don't follow a fixed pattern. They surprise, innovate, and defy expectations. Those who are predictable become easily manipulated, while those who know how to change their approach keep others in suspense and have more control over their own destiny. Imagine an entrepreneur who launches an innovative product and is successful. If he just keeps repeating the same formula without innovating, he will soon be overtaken by the competition. But if he is always one step ahead, experimenting with new ideas and surprising the market, his influence remains. On a personal level, this means not getting stuck in other people's versions of you. If you always act in the same way, people learn to predict your attitudes and stop seeing value in what you do. But when you reinvent yourself, change your way of thinking, and bring new perspectives, you maintain your relevance and increase your impact on the world. Those who constantly reinvent themselves live fully. They are not afraid to abandon old versions of themselves to become something greater. They don't let the past define who they are. They choose who they want to be as many times as necessary. You've come this far because something inside you knows it's time for a change. Maybe you've spent years repeating the same mistakes, dealing with constant frustration, and feeling stuck in a cycle that never seems to end. But the truth is that you're not doomed to always be the same. Robert Greene teaches us that transformation doesn't happen overnight, but begins the moment you decide that you will no longer accept a mediocre life. From that decision onwards, every little action counts. Every choice you make starts to shape a different future. And if you've come this far, if you've heard each of these concepts and reflected on them, it means that you're already different from the majority. While many spend their lives looking for distractions to avoid facing their own challenges, you have chosen to delve deeper, learn, and grow. This proves that there is something powerful within you, the ability to reinvent yourself, to break with patterns that no longer serve you, and to build a new path. But now comes the most important moment. Knowing is not enough. How many moments of clarity have you had in your life? How many powerful insights that, for whatever reason, didn't turn into action? If you don't act now, this video will just be another interesting idea that gets lost over time. But if you make the real decision to apply these concepts, everything can change. And for that, I want to challenge you. Write the following sentence in the comments. Starting today, I'm taking control of my transformation. It may seem like a small thing, but it's not. When you write something down, you turn a thought into reality. You make a commitment to yourself and to this new version you want to build. This phrase isn't just a declaration, it's a symbol that from now on, you will no longer be held hostage by your emotions, the fear of change, or other people's opinions. And I ask you, don't keep this change to yourself. Think about how many people are experiencing exactly what you were experiencing before watching this video. People who feel stuck, without direction, without knowing where to start. If this message made sense to you, help bring it to those who need it. The way to do this is simple. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. This helps YouTube understand that this content is relevant and not only keeps you connected to more content like this, but also strengthens this community of people who are committed to their own growth. If it's possible for you, support the channel by clicking on the Thanks button and sending any amount as a contribution. This may seem like a small gesture, but it has an immense impact. If you can help today, you'll be saving others in the future. You're helping this channel to continue producing transformative content that can reach someone who doesn't have the same resources as you do now. And in the end, the question is simple. Are you just going to leave this video and continue on autopilot, or are you going to take control of your life once and for all? The decision is in your hands, but if you've made it this far, I already know your answer. Write in the comments. As of today, I'm taking control of my transformation. And I'll see you in the next video. The revolution starts now.